adjust this just a little bit. There we go. That's better. All right, Scott, when the gang is all here, just go ahead and give me a verbal thumbs up, and then we'll get the party started.
We'll do it, Tim.
Somebody's puppy is unhappy. Somebody's puppy is unhappy. I heard it. I heard it happen.
Tim, were you planning to record the meeting or?
They automatically are recorded. So actually the recording is happening right now as we speak, which is lovely. I don't have to do anything. So give me, I'm working, I got a little bit of a backlog that I can work through. Give me a couple days, like early next week. I'll throw you the link and then you'll have access to it.
That sounds good. Yep,
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. No problem.
I just know one or two of my teachers are busy doing some other things right now for
That's
school.
No problem. So yeah. That's no problem. Let me bang out this email real quick, and then I'll be right with you. I promise.
No worries.
And we don't have to be in a big hurry. This is probably, again, like I told you, it's probably gonna take the whole hour. Right. Come on, send it, send it.
I think, Tim, as soon as you're done and ready, I think we're ready to
I'm
go.
ready to rock and roll. I am.
Looks
Well,
like
I was gonna say
a lot
that.
of them here.
Okay, cool. Here, hang on. Wait a minute. One more thing, because it's not sending. Hang on one sec. Okay, cool. All right, ready to rock and roll. Here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to technology. What are you going to do, right? Welcome to the big overview session. This is the first day of the rest of your lives. So this is actually going to be pretty fundamental stuff, but I am going to throw a decent amount of information at you at one time. As you might have heard, when we were talking shop at the beginning, this is being recorded, so you'll have access to this video if you want to go back and review something. I'm also going to show you other resources that you do have available to you, so that you know where else you can go to get some of the news that you can use. But what we're going to cover today is just, again, some of the very fundamental things that you can do on and with your panel right now. So we're going to kind of do this in two parts. The first part, which is really going to be, a big chunk of it, is what we're looking at here in the panel's home screen. This is going to be the embedded side. These are the tools that are actually going to be embedded on the panel itself. Nice, because it doesn't require a computer in order for you to be able to accomplish some things. So that's pretty cool. But what we will also do in the second part of this is when you've got your computer going, I will actually show you, I've got a pro tip for you in terms of a place you can go, actually a couple places you can go, where you can make some magic happen. Scott, remind me, I should know this, but again, it's always a blur for me. Are they connecting their own computers, or do you guys have the OPSs? Remind me.
So they're going to connect, we're going to have their computers connected to the boards. And that's, for the most part, how they'll probably be using them. That's how they use their smart boards right now.
Awesome.
But it's important for them to realize what the panel can do as well, I think.
Boom. And that's exactly where we're going. Cool. Okay, that's exactly where we're going. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you power your panel on, it'll do a little Newline splash screen, and then it'll come in, and then you'll come to this. It'll say, hey, it really wants you to, well, it doesn't say, hey, it doesn't do that, but it wants you to touch it. That's what it really wants you to do. It wants you to touch it. It'll do that. And then now you end up at the home screen. The home screen is not necessarily where you're going to live your life. I mean, he just alluded to that. This is not where you're going to live your lives 24/7. The home screen exists for two reasons. The first reason it exists is to get you to that connected source as quickly and efficiently as possible with the on-screen source selector here. By the way, there's also a physical remote control in the box, and I'm assuming you'll have access to those, but there's a physical remote control that also gives you the port buttons. So you can use that too if you want to, but the on-screen source selector. So wherever your computer is going to be end up being plugged in, it'll probably be HDMI 1 or 2 is probably where it'll end up. That'll be the button that's lit up, okay? I am using the built-in PC. In this case, don't let that bother you. If you have a laptop or something of that type connected, it works exactly the same way. So in order to get to that thing, if we're using the on-screen, is we touch the button, turns blue, gives us this lovely live preview, which you don't have to wait for. You can just hit the button again, and it'll take you right there. I happen to think this is fun, though, so I like looking at it because I think it's cool. It's in the little screen there. And then touch and go. It really is that simple, okay? The good news is, also, as Scott alluded to, and I like the way he said it, their laptops will be connected, meaning you're probably not going to have to deal with that yourself. So you should be able to then walk in and have that there. However, if in fact there's a situation where you do either have to make a move or something, or you're bringing in something else, like another computer, whatever the case may be, and you want to have the ability to connect that to the panel, absolutely you can do that. Because you've got a lot of ports to work with. So if you have other things that you want to connect to it, that's entirely up to you. If it's a computer, like a Mac or a Windows machine or a Chromebook, Chromebooks count here too. You'll be using an HDMI cable for video and sound and a USB cable, and that's what gets you touch. Every HDMI port, I'll just show you the one here in the front. I refer to this as the guest port because it's the easiest one to get to. And you can use this if you want to. And every HDMI port that's on the panel has an associated USB touch port. It's even labeled. It's labeled USB touch. So that's how you'll know that that's the one to do that. If you're using, like, say, a document camera or a streaming device or whatever, then obviously you don't need a USB cable. There's no touch port connection for that. So it's very easy to get things connected. But again, that's going to be mostly taken care of for you. So you're probably not going to have to worry about that. You'll just see the button lit up here. Boop, go. That's it. It's that simple to make that happen. Now, I'll tell you what else. While we're on the subject of getting to our computers, you'll notice here in the 6-pack, this is the other reason the home screen exists, by the way, is to get you access to places and things. You'll see a button over here. It's labeled Windows. And you could be thinking, hey, okay, cool. If I just press that, and it'll go. Sadly, no. That's actually for this guy. This is the built-in PC that I'm talking about. This is in the slot back there. Since you guys aren't using those, and by the way, you don't have to. Your laptops are fine, okay? Since you're not using that button's not going to take you there. You're probably thinking, well, that's dumb. You know, why have that button there? It's not going to take me where I want to go. Well, that's okay, because you can make that happen. The 6-pack is customizable. So you can make those buttons go somewhere else or do something else. So let's say we wanted to change that one. We wanted to make it go to our laptop. Okay, cool. So I'm going to touch and hold that for a couple seconds. Oh, look at that. Okay, now it's using this menu. And I can tell it where I want it to go. So my laptop, just as an example, if it's plugged into HDMI 1, choose that. Oh, and there we go. And then henceforth and forevermore, that button will take me to HDMI 1. If I want to name that my laptop, yeah, I can do that too. Touch that, and then, oh, okay, cool. I can rename that to whatever I want. So absolutely, that's possible. Now, are you required to do that? No, you're not required to do that. You can just leave the buttons as is. You don't have to do anything with it. But I wanted you to know that that capability was there, so you could make the 6-pack conform to, you know, how you want to work. So that capability is there for you. All right. So selecting a source and getting to that source, you know, having your thing connected properly with the cables. All that, again, is going to, that's going to come out of the wash. Again, there's very little about that you're going to need to worry about when you walk into your classroom and have access to that. So if that's half of it, that's a pretty simple half, right? And then, of course, as I just mentioned, this is the other reason, right? To be able to get access to tools that, again, don't really have anything to do with a computer. That's kind of nice. Yes, you are going to live on your computers. And there are about 1,000 reasons to do that. And yes, the panel is really nice about that. It's a great vehicle to just have you use your computers. It's one of the things we pride ourselves on, is to make that as easy as possible. But it is nice to know that, and again, for any and every reason under the sun, maybe your laptop's not working for you that day, whatever, it's nice to know that the panel's got some stuff for you. The most obvious one in terms of something that could be useful that you wouldn't necessarily even do on a computer, depending on where you're going, would be the whiteboard, right? So give that a touch, and there it is. And it's a whiteboard. How about that? Like, listen, you guys aren't rookies. You know how this works in terms of coming off of some interactive product. This is not like news to you. But of course, you know, you need to get accustomed to the toolbar. That's going to be a little bit different, right? So that's not going to be a big deal. I mean, you're going to find that you're going to be able to identify and use things pretty quickly. So when I am here in the whiteboard, and by the way, before I get too deep into this, let me also do this. I'm going to roll over my computer, because our good friend, the side toolbar, we got actually 2 of them, both sides of the screen. That is wonderful because those are overlay toolbars. They persist. Whatever's on the screen, those will be there, which means that we can get to things very quickly regardless of what's happening on the screen. The whiteboard is absolutely one of those things. Button number 2 from the top, it looks like a pen coming down this way on a flat writing surface. When we give that a touch, oh, look at that whiteboard, just like that. So it's very, very easy to get here whenever you have a desire or a need to get here. And then once you are here, I mean, if I didn't say anything to you, you'd be able to figure this out. You got writing utensils down there, right? They look like writing utensils, and then touch that, and then, oh, there we go. I got a menu. Then I can do the color, and then, oops, actually got to touch it, Tim. There we go. Color and thickness. If there's a fancy, if I want to get fancy with that color palette, boy, I can just get all kinds of fancy with that if I choose to. I don't need to. I'm just going to go ahead and go with a red one like that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, once I have my selections made, I'm going to thin writing implement is what I'm going to grab. I did not say the word stylus. Did you notice that? Didn't say the word stylus. Not because I'm trying to be Mr. Semantics guy, but because Doesn't have to be the stylus. Now, we are very happy to provide you in the accessories box with each panel. You get not one, but two lovely styli. They've got magnetic holders, so it's easy to keep them on the panel with an easy reach. And they got our logo printed on them and everything. Man, that's classy. All right, so you're welcome to use those to your heart's content. But if they get lost, if they walk away, get broken, it's not a crisis. I've used chopsticks, coffee stirrers, busted pencils, wooden dowels that I stole from my wife's workshop and not told her. Okay, anything wood or plastic, that's gonna be fine. That's gonna be fine. You wanna avoid metal, right? You wanna avoid your wedding rings. I mean, you wanna avoid anything that can legitimately cut glass is really the idea here. What do I got here? This is a mechanical pencil with no lead. I don't care, that's not what I need. I need it to have this thin plastic tip that I'm really wearing down. This poor thing, I've used the heck out of this. That's all right, still works, and that's important. I keep saying it over and over again, like that's a thing. Yeah, that is a thing. Thin means right. With lovely handwriting, like you can see here. Right, thin means right. Right, thick, like my finger, as an example, means select. There we go. And that's an object I can move around the screen. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then palm or fist. I actually like fist. Erase. Like so. All right, so object recognition is in play here. That's not a new thing. I mean, smart products have been doing object recognition for a while. So it's not like that's some kind of a new concept, but that's one of the things that you'll notice about, using this panel is that, yeah, we're doing fundamental things and we're doing things that you've probably seen or used before in some fashion, but the implementation of those things has a tendency to be pretty smooth and pretty comprehensive. So object recognition in this case allows us to perform basic functions, and we don't have to go down here and keep pressing buttons to do that. That's really the idea behind that. If you want to write with your finger, or you want to have students write with their fingers or whatever, yeah, you can still do that. You can still do that. If you go down here to the lower right-hand corner, there's a button there, and there's like a cog in a machine. Give that a touch. It gives you the whiteboard settings, and you can change it to the second option there where it says write with fine pen or fingers. You can do that. Now, if you do that, notice this button down here that looks a little bit like a compass. I'm going to make that go away for a second. I'm going to go up here. Here's what you'll want to know about that. If you leave it at the default settings where you're writing only with the fine pen, watch what happens when I just touch the whiteboard. Yeah, see, it's an infinite canvas, which is cool. And then I can take two fingers and I can zoom in and out like this. All right, gotta be 100. Won't be happy with 100. Happy. There we go. So the infinite canvas works by default when you use the default settings. Now, if I change it, if I go to write with fine pen or fingers, okay, now, of course, if I use my finger, well, of course, that's gonna write, right, is what's gonna happen there. But I can still do the infinite canvas. Now I just have to press that button that looks a little bit like a compass, and then I can do it. Okay, so you just have to kind of recognize how it's going to act depending on what option you choose for writing. That's it. My recommendation, though, is at least at the start, you leave it here. Leave it write with fine pen only to kind of get a sense of how that works. And then you can make a decision on, how important it is then for you to be able to write with a finger, have your students write with fingers or whatever. I mean, you can make decisions on that, but you just want to know kind of how all that's going to operate depending on which choice you make, okay? Any questions about any of that so far? Explain that so beautifully and clearly. Requires no further explanation. Okay, cool. So next item on the hit parade is this. I've got a button down here. This guy's got some shapes in it. I think you can probably figure out what happens there. Yeah, that's going to be lines and shapes like that. And then triangle, let's fill that with color like that. Like so. I like to make sound effects while I do this. That's optional. You're not required to do that. We already know if I touch a thing, I can move a thing. We already know that. If I want to, then what I can do is I can go down here and I can hit this lasso button. I can take my writing utensil and I can circle things like this. And hey, look at that. I can make that be one object. Well, that's pretty slick. So yeah, we can group these things together. I am noticing, and Scott, you may have to help me with this because I'm not looking over at my webinar laptop. Most of the time I'm looking into my camera. So if something pops up on the chat in terms of a question, if you could like MC that for me.
Yeah, I'm monitoring the chat, and I'm also kind of putting some clarifying information into the chat as well for everybody.
Right. That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. So with that, cool. All right. We can add objects in the form of lines and shapes to the equation here. So the digital ink is one thing, but we can do more with it. That's cool. It's still pretty basic stuff though, right? It's still pretty basic stuff. Now the infinite canvas, yeah, that was pretty cool too. But what about the fact that it's a blank white canvas, right? What if we wanted that to be something other than a blank white canvas? Could I make that happen? The answer is yes. If I go down here, once again to this corner of the screen, I've got a button over here that looks like a plus. And you're probably thinking, okay, plus, that means create a new page. And you'll be correct, but wait, there's more. Touch and hold that button for a couple seconds and hey, background. Okay, cool. So I can do color, go to the pattern and say, oh boy, I got all kinds of options here, don't I? Let's go with that one right there, hit add, and whoosh, there you go. So we can absolutely have the canvas be something other than a blank white canvas. Now, I'll typically get a couple questions here. One question I often get is, okay, Tim, what if I wanted to adjust like the space between the lines or the grids if it's graph paper? Could I do that? The answer is no. These are fixed elements. So even if you zoom in and out, it's not going to change what that looks like. A typical follow-up question then would be, okay, Tim, if I had a picture of something, whether we're talking a paper type or anything like the Earth as viewed from space, and I wanted to have that be the canvas that we could scribble on and put objects on and all that. Could I import that picture and do that? The answer is yes. If we go back to this menu, touch and hold that, I'm in the patterns section of the background menu. I scroll all the way down. I have a button down here labeled custom. That is what allows us to grab or import a picture from someplace and use that as the canvas for our whiteboard. Now, are we required to do that? No, of course not. That's optional. All of this is optional. But it's nice to know that capability is there. So just in case you find yourself having a need to do that based on what you're teaching or what you're trying to illustrate, yeah, that capability is there if you need it to be there. So this is all good. It's all fundamental stuff. Again, this is all, it's embedded in the panel. Doesn't require the use of a computer to make this happen. So it's nice and convenient to have it there. But we still have some additional capability here. There's still some things that we can do with this. If I go over here, I've got a button that looks like 3 dots in a horizontal line. It's very unassuming looking, but if I touch that, that's an important menu, options, because here I do have options. I can insert images as objects, text boxes, sticky notes. Yeah, play with sticky notes, knock yourself out, go for it. How about, PDFs, we can throw PDF pages on here? We can, I'll show you that in a second. But got these 2 right here, search image, search web, search image right there. Okay, cool, do that. Okay, here's a touch keyboard, right on. And search for puppies. While I'm doing this, Scott, remind me, are the panels themselves going to have internet access? I mean, I know
themselves will have internet access, yes.
Okay, so then congratulations, because you obviously need internet access to do this. It's leveraging Google image search to make this happen. So yeah, there's a pup playing with his toy. I highlight that, drag that on the screen like that. Boom. There we go. Nice. So yeah, we got lots of options in terms of what we can do with this. Now, I'll tell you, again, you're mostly going to lean on your computers. And again, we're going to talk more about that as I go. We're going to talk more about that as I go. This is all wonderful stuff. I'm glad to be showing you. It's important for you to know it. But don't get, right, the way I normally put this, don't get too lost in the feature forest, right? Because it's not really about that. It's not really about having a thing there. It's about making sure that you focus on those things that speak to what you teach and how you got to teach it. That's really what we're talking about. If a tool that I showed you does speak to that, then knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. That's why it's here. But if it doesn't, then don't worry about it. Move on with your life at that point. Just because a tool is there doesn't mean you got to use it. So you can focus on those things. And by the way, as you continue to put your hands on these panels, I'm showing you some stuff. All right, I'm getting you started down the path, and you'll get your hands on them, and you'll discover more as you go. That's gonna happen, And so don't get too lost in all this now. But a couple other things I want to show you real quick. Actually, let's do this. Let's do this one. I'll do this one. So there are some additional capabilities here, some of which won't necessarily or may not necessarily have anything that's real important for you right now. But one thing that you can do is this. This one could have some play for you guys. So if I go down back here to this corner of the screen, I've got a button that looks like a little dude with an arrow. It's hard to see. But if I touch that, this is what allows me to, from the whiteboard, okay, from here, sign into my Google Drive so I can make it accessible. That meaning I can take pictures and PDFs and throw those on the whiteboard pages, or I can take pages that I've created and I can export those directly to my Google Drive very easily. That's kind of the idea behind it, okay? So with that in mind, I got two ways to do this. I can either go old school with the sign in button there. If I do that, I'm gonna just use the touch keyboard and sign in, old school. If I don't have students in the room, that's fine. If I got students in the room, I am not doing that. I'm not putting a password in via a touch keyboard on a big screen when I got students in the room, no. So what I'm gonna do instead is method number 2, which is the QR code method, which I happen to think is faster anyway. So I'm gonna fire up my pocket internet machine, and I'm going to find my QR code reader. There it is, okay. And then I'm gonna go ahead and scan that code, boom. It gives me the URL that allows us to link these things together. So I'm gonna give that a touch. And I'm going to, and when I get to the site, it's going to say, hey, sign into your Newline whiteboard using your Google account. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And then what it does, and this is good because this is nice and secure, is it leverages Google single sign-in. And which means, again, you choose your Google account, right? You guys have seen this. And then you hit allow, yes, Google allow, please. And then when Google figures it out, it gives you that, okay? Well, not me. You won't be seeing my fat face. You'll be seeing something else, hopefully. And then from there, what happens is magically out of nowhere, that folder button shows up. Oh, look at that. And it's got a cloud next to it. Oh, I wonder what that means. Yeah, it means my cloud space, right? So there's my Google Drive, yay. And then down here, I've got, oh, look at that PDF. Let's touch that, go there, do that, and import, and boom. Nice, huh? Formats it real nice in the page for me. And then, because this is a 2-page document, I should have the second page here somewhere, right? So if we go back down this corner, I've got my page numbers here. I've got 3 or 4. Okay, so there's a 4th page here. I'm going to arrow over to that. Ah, there it is. Okay, take my running utensil, do that. Nice. Okay. And then exporting, right next door, there's a button that kind of looks like a QR code. You give that a touch and then hit the export. I can choose PNG, JPEG, PDF. Those are the choices that I got for doing it. And then export that, and I can save it to my Google Drive. Or I can take a thumb drive. We got USB ports all over the place in this thing. Stick a thumb drive in one of them. Save it to that thumb drive, that works too. Scan the QR code, once again, pocket internet machine, download it directly to that device. Nice, convenient, okay? So again, it's good that these things are here. And this is a good example, right? This is a good example of how convenient this whiteboard can be. But I'll tell you what though, as nice as this is, what I just did, when I'm working with documentation, okay, it could be Google Docs, sheets or slides, it could be PDFs or anything else in between. This is not my favorite method for doing it. I actually have something that I like better than even what I showed you, as nice as this is. So that's kind of where we're gonna head here just a little bit. But any questions about the embedded whiteboard before I go on to the next step?
Tim, clarification. If they do choose to sign into their Google Drive on the whiteboarding application on the panel itself, how long are they signed in to Google Drive on the panel in the whiteboard application for?
Either until they sign out, or they go to the home screen and hit the dude trying to escape. That's the exit button. It exits the session, goes back to the start screen, or the panel gets powered off. So those are the 3 ways that happens.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody realized and understood that if you do leave your panel on at night after you sign into that, you're still signed into your Google Drive.
Here's another thing though. Another thing that I recommend that you at least take a look at as far as that goes is, and by the way, guys, you can leave the panels on. These are rated for 24/7 operation. You don't have to turn them off, okay? But if you want to be energy conscious, go ahead, cool, we get that too. Or if you want to make sure that you do log out of things, one thing that you can do is at the home screen, if I go to cog button up here in the top right-hand corner, it's next door to the do try to escape. That again, that's settings, panel settings. If I scroll down just a little bit on the menu, I've got an item labeled power. And what that allows me to do is it really allows me to do 2 things. The first thing it allows me to do is allows me to set my energy saver. The energy saver, when that's on, when the panel is not touched for a certain period of time, whatever you choose, the panel will power off. Okay, so that's a thing that you can do. Another thing you can do is the auto power on, auto power off. Those allow you to have scheduled times where your panel can come on in the morning and go off in the afternoon or evening. As you can see, the way I've got mine is set to come on every weekday at 7 in the morning and set to go off every week evening at 7. Okay, so that's another thing that you have control over. That is what I'm trying to say here. You have control over your panel staying on or off at your discretion. And that can also help you kind of with, okay, well, I'm still logged in. No, you don't have to, fuss about that. You can let the panel take care of some of that stuff for you. That
being said, Tim, what we're going to do, since we're going to have the MDM as well, we're going to help them with that, and we're going to control some of that for them and help that. Fabulous. We're going to turn the panel off at night because we are energy conscientious here at Heartland. We're going to
which is good.
Turn the panel off at night. We're going to automatically boot it up in the mornings, probably by about 8 o'clock. They can boot it up earlier, of course, but we'll have some control over that once we get the MDM up and running, which will probably be several weeks after the panels are installed at Creekside.
Nice. That'll be good. So you guys don't have to worry about it, which is a good thing. When you're not required to worry, you don't have to take any extra space up here to worry about something else. But I wanted you to know that those things do exist. Whether you do something or whether they take control, they're mostly going to take control. That's fine too. Just wanted you to know that those things exist. So with that, we can go on to the next thing. Scott, I'll let you tell me the wireless casting. We want to go there, don't want to go there.
We can, yeah, sure, that's fine. Either this week or we can do that next Friday as well. It's up to you, whichever you think is better.
No, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do it. It's pretty fundamental. So let's go ahead and do it. As you know, your laptops will mostly, as they were on the smart boards that you're using prior to getting these panels, your computers are mostly going to be plugged into the thing, and that's mostly how that's going to happen. However, there are a couple things that you have here. Scott, reminder, they're one-to-one, the students in
the students aren't one-to-one, but each grade level has a cart of Chromebook carts. Got you.
Okay, so with that in mind, the screen sharing button right here next to the whiteboard button right here in the 6-pack, that fires up a program called Newline Cast. Newline Cast is our wireless casting program. This will be useful to you in one of two ways. One way in which it's useful to you is it allows you to, and I wouldn't want to do it like all the time. I would want to do it some of the time when I need or have some great desire at that moment in time to untether myself and be able to wander around my space. Newline Cast lets me do that because I can wirelessly cast what's happening on my laptop or whatever, what's happening on my thing up to the panel.
To clarify, Tim, they do have, they don't have laptops in their classroom. They have teacher desktops.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But if they wanted to roam and cast to it, or have a student cast to it, or a guest speaker cast to it, those are the ways I think that would work real well.
That's number 2. So yes, number 2 would be when you get other things out there, which could be student Chromebooks or the device. It could be iPads, whatever. I mean, it'll take whatever internet connected thing that can either get the Display Note app that you get from the appropriate app store for your thing for free, or if you're on a computer, like if you're on a Chromebook, which counts as a computer in this case, or a laptop or whatever, then you can also use the web portal. So you use either the app or the portal if you're on a computer-based thing. I will show you how it works by using my Android phone as the example here. Because my Android phone is a mobile thing, I need to use the Display Note app, which I have on my phone. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Fire it up. But let's not see phone mess. Let's see something other than phone mess. Let's see. Come on, get out of here. Let's see. There we go. This will be pretty. This will be a pretty thing. Okay. So here comes Display Note. All right. So I fired up like this. All right. Here we go. And then it wants that. All right. Now, if I'm on a Chromebook, probably what I'm going to do is there is a Display Note extension for Chrome, and it works. That's fine. But honestly, it's just as easy to just put the URL into Chrome and do it that way if I'm on a Chromebook. So, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Go here. My name is Tim. Go. Hey, I'm connected. Okay, now, here's where it gets important. One of the things, before you even get this far, one of the things you will want to do if you are getting your students involved in this, one of the things you will want to do is settings, moderator, You want moderator mode to be on. You always want that to be on. That way the little angels can connect to a session, but they cannot start casting until you invite them. So yes, you get to maintain control over that. So that's kind of a cool thing. Another thing too, while I'm at it, is this works over the internet. So devices do not have to be on the same network in order to cast to the panel. So that's handy. So if you have separate networks for students and for teachers, then cool, then you're cool. So the other thing that it does, this is less important, but the other thing that moderator mode does is it enables this thing called grid view. So I'm going to invite myself from here, and then, oh, hey, my share button showed up. Look at that. So I'm going to do that, go here, little cheerleaders, and I have little cheerleaders. So we can have 4 devices connected at one time. We can display all 4 at one time. Now, is that entirely practical? I would say no, only because I mean, yeah, these are big screens, right? But if I got students in the back of the room, kind of like in the last row of wherever they're seated, that's going to get small. That's going to get small. I just don't know that they'll see what they need to see. But I'll tell you what, though, now 2 devices, because they'll end up side by side like this. Yeah, that's a little better. That's a little better. So if you want to do side-by-side comparisons from a couple of things, yeah, you could totally do that if you wanted to. And then we could take the panel's embedded annotation tools. Button number 1 at the top is my best friend here. That's going to bring up my whiteboard tools in screen annotation mode. And then I can do the what's it's with the color and the thickness, right? Do that. And then circle these beautiful kids like this. And then take a snapshot. I got a button down here that does that. Hit that. And then, oh, okay, I can crop it, do the whole thing, download it as a picture into a folder labeled pictures on the panel. You access that through the file viewer. You may have noticed that in the 6-pack, there's a file viewer. Or I got another button here that looks like a couple boxes in a screen. And oh, look at that, it's sort of the whiteboard. And I probably wanted to create a new page before I did that. So pro tip there, but yeah, that's kind of cool that we can make a couple of these things work together if we choose to. Again, these things are optional, guys. You're not required to do this, but I want you to know that the panel has some capabilities so that if there was a reason for either you to be untethered with something or for your students, if they've got their, if the Chromebook card is there and they're working on Chromebooks, that they can also, without having to leave their desks, they can also make this happen too. You get to choose that though. You get to choose how that works. You can either do that or completely ignore it, and that's fine too. All right, so that just because, again, just because there, doesn't mean you got to use it, but I want to make sure that you knew that it was there. Any questions about that? Okay, fantastic. Now we can kind of get to the nitty-gritty here. Now, I will tell you that we don't have to overthink any of this, because as it was when you were on the product that you had previously, what are we really doing here? Okay, so I've rolled over my computer as you would do yours, right? In your case, you've got desktops plugged in. Like I said, they work exactly the same way, as what I've got here, all right? So we're looking at my Windows desktop, right? So what are we really, are we using a panel? Is that what we're actually doing? No, that's not what we're doing. We are using our computers, and then we're just driving these computers with this giant touchpad. That's really what's happening. It was pretty much the same way as you did it. Now, before, you had to go down a certain lane, right? You had to live in Smart Notebook because that's what it was when you were using those particular products. And by the way, you can, and I'm not policing this, but software that you've used in the past, you can continue to use now. All right, so things that you did before are things that you can still do now, but now you have to spread your wings a little bit more. So let's talk about that part of it, okay? So if I wanted to, it's about content. It's about content. We have a display. Just because it's a touch display doesn't change the fact that we're going to have content on the screen, and we're going to then deliver that content. We're going to teach from that thing is what we're going to do. The magic happens when we can utilize tools to work with that content. The choices that we make are going to depend on where that content's coming from. So example number one. Example number one is a web page. Come on, work with me. There we go. Web page. Look at that. Hey, it's Newline-Interactive.com. Actually, I'm going to talk about this too. But so I'm on a web page. Great. I can scroll up and down. I mean, you guys know this already. Okay, that's not news. But here is where we want to put ourselves in a place where we can, if we wanted to use this is the thing that we're teaching. It's just regular old HTML, just a standard old HTML web page. Still plenty of reason to go there. That's perfectly fine. But do I have a tool that I can use? that allows me to make this happen? The answer is yeah. Now, because Chrome does not have a native annotation tool, there's no magic pen button in Chrome that I can just automatically touch and do this. They're not there yet, okay? So that means I have to go with an alternative. In the case of Chrome, it would mean that I have to go with an extension. There are several to choose from. Okay, there's several to choose from. The one that Tim happens to think is okay is called Page Marker. Page Marker. When you get that from the Chrome Web Store for free, and it's not a Google thing, it's homebrew. Okay, this is a homebrew thing. When you've got it installed, I know it's hard to see because it's got the little buttons up here. It looks like a highlighter that's pointing that way. That's kind of what it looks like. And when you get that a touch, it gives you the toolbar, which is real simple. I mean, it's a decent color palette, but you get a pen and a highlighter, and that's it. And you get, change the size of it and whatever. You don't have to use a stylus here. You can use your finger if you want to. Okay, and I'm going to write, and that's not horrible, but that's also not the smoothest. It's not the smoothest experience in the world. I mean, again, that's actually a little better than it used to be. But that's not really the main thing. This is not the big argument for using Page Marker. The big argument for using Page Marker is that when I scroll, yeah, the ink will actually stick to the page. Okay, so that's the argument for giving Page Marker a dance. If the thing that you are doing is a website thing, okay, not a web program, because it won't work like this over a web program. It'll act like an overlay. But if you're on a web page, it'll actually stick, so you can actually move through that page and keep going there. Okay, so that's a thing. That's a thing. Another thing is if I want to work with documentation. So let's talk about that, because yeah, that could be a thing. You could be working with Google Doc sheets or slides. You could be working with PDFs. Scott, remind me, are you guys on Microsoft Office at all, or are you mostly Google at this point?
We have we're a Google district, but we also provide the Office products to the staff.
Which way do you think folks would lean the most?
Yes. Seriously.
So it's like a 50-50 split, pretty much.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes people will send a Google Doc, and then they'll send a Word doc next. I mean, it just literally all depends on what kind of they're used to for whatever it is they're working on.
Okay, then we are going to have some next Friday stuff. Yep. Yep. Let's for now stick with the Google. I'm going to stick with the Google example for now. There's an Office example coming, and actually the Office example is easy, guys. That's easy. But I want to handle the Google. No, I lied. I'm sorry. I lied. I'm calling it Audible. Let's do the Microsoft thing today. We're going to do the Microsoft thing today because that's quicker. So we'll do the Microsoft thing today. All right. So let's say that the documentation question, the thing you're working with, is Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Okay, the Microsoft Big Three. If you are working with those programs, and Scott, tell me, are we talking about being tied to Office 365, or are these just local apps?
It's Office 365 installed locally onto the computer there.
Okay, so I fire up PowerPoint, and then when I'm here, I'm logged into my Office 365 account. Would that be true for you guys?
Yes, it is.
Boom. That's what I wanted to hear, Scott. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay, so hey guys, it's PowerPoint. How about that? And then yeah, when you are logged into your Office 365 account, that's what's going to get you access to the magic. Here's how that works. I'm going to fire up an appropriately boring slide deck. This is appropriately boring. That slide kills me. I don't know what. Let me get off of that for a second. There we go. Jiminy crickets. I don't know. Partly I'm colorblind and it kind of freaks me out. Anyway, so here we are. Hey, look at that. It's PowerPoint, ladies and gentlemen. And since I am logged in, I do get access to something right out of the chute here. So I know it's small, but the main menu, right? File, home, insert, draw. Oh, okay. Well, that's a thing. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think you can probably figure out what happens from here. Okay, so right out of the chute, you get access to tools. Oh, but wait, it gets better. I'm not going to touch a tool. I'm just going to go right back home. Okay, I'm going to go right back to the home menu. I don't have to touch a tool. You know why? Remember that object recognition thing that we talked about with the thin and the thick? Oh, yeah. Thin means right. And by the way, there are glitter pens. Rock those glitter pens. We're all friends here. All right, that's fine. I love them. Okay, so thin means right. Thick means select. Yep. Okay, palm. In this case, but not the fits palm. In Microsoft stuff, that's erase. Okay, so palm is erase, right? So object recognition works. Cool. So if I'm in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, I can do that all day. I can do that all day. Now, PowerPoint's a little bit different though, right? PowerPoint's different because it's a presentation program. It's a visual representation of the ideas that we wish to convey to the audience. Therefore, if I'm going to run this slide deck in class, would I run it the way that we see it here? Please say no. That's a pet peeve of mine. People run their slide decks in edit mode. What are we, barbarians? Come on now. Run the slide deck in presentation mode, guys. Come on, let's do it because swiping works. Swipe left with a thick utensil. That goes forwards. Swipe right with a thick utensil. That goes backwards. Thin means right. Now, if I wanted to adjust the properties of that writing utensil, what I gotta do is I gotta do a touch and hold. And that brings up the PowerPoint menu where I can do that. Oh, and by the way, did you notice my toolbar, if you've got menus that come up on the edges of the screen in a program, the toolbars might get in the way. I mean, you might notice that. They might get in the way. No, don't panic. Make a peace sign, peace. Take your peace sign, swipe up from the bottom of the screen like that. As I say that, let's try that again, come on. Don't make a fool out of me, come on, do it. And of course, my panel's just gonna decide to freak out. Boy, your panel will not do that, kids. My panel has been having trouble with that lately. Toolbar buttons, boom, boom, and then they're off. Yay, and I can also erase the dumb ink. That's fine. So now they're out of my way. So if I have to access the presentation menu, I can do that and I can change what kind of writing utensil it is if I want it to be a highlighter or whatever. So you can't do that, okay? Now, the really cool part is this, okay? So I do that, right? Thin is right, thick is swipe, thin is right, thick is swipe. Notice what's going on with the ink here? Yeah, it's sticking. The ink sticks to the pages. That's what you want, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not always going to be possible. You're going to be in situations where you're not always going to have access to a tool that will stick. But a lot of the time you can be. So this is one good example of that. Got to give Microsoft credit here. Pen and touch was an important aspect for them. They made that a regular part of their ecosystem. Good, great, wonderful for us. Wonderful for us that they did that, okay? And then when I get out of the slideshow, either by going to the end or hitting the end show button here, I can keep these if I want to. And then these can be part of my PowerPoint slide deck. I can choose to file, save as, and save an annotated copy, and the annotations will stick there if I wanted to, or I just X out of here, say, no, don't save, I don't need to do that, gone. Okay, so that is really a very good example of something that is particularly fundamental that we can do that already includes things that we use. See, that's the best part. And you want to be thinking that direction. You know, what am I already using right now? Because there's a chance that, and it's not 100%, but there's a chance that there's going to be a tool or there's going to be an alternative that will be easy to get to that you can go with. And we're going to talk more about that next session. I'll show you a couple more examples, but that was a good one to start with because that's a quick one, okay? Using a tool that's inside of a program, when you do that, that's probably gonna be your best option because those tools will stick, whereas other ones probably won't, all right? Any questions about any of that? I explained all that so beautifully and clearly that it requires no further explanation whatsoever. Scott, is there anything in the chat that I should be aware of?
The only stuff that's in the chat is stuff that I've typed so far to clarify.
Okay, thanks, Scott. All right, listen, we're good. We're good. So congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Session number 1 is that. Session number 2 will be actually even be a little bit easier. You know, we did the heavy lifting today. Your homework assignments, get your hands on your panels.
Well, they don't have their panels yet. Remember, Tim, they've only got one example panel in their building right now, which is okay. They've got one in their building.
I keep forgetting. No, it's just that I keep forgetting. In my defense, guys, I do this every day with every school under the sun, and I can't remember who's got what. That's why I keep asking Scott. Scott, remind me, because I can't remember anything.
Well, it looks like Becky's in room 25 right now, right, Becky? Yeah, there it is right there.
Okay, Becky, your homework assignment is get your hands on the panel. Get your hands on the panel. I won't call out Becky though next week. I won't call you out. I won't call you out. But next week we will take a look, and it's going to be quick. We're scheduled for an hour. We're not going to need the whole hour next week. We will take a look at another couple of examples. We'll talk Google, and then we'll talk a couple of the places that you can go, other resources that you can get access to. I'll save it for that. But if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go so you can get on with the rest of your day. I want everybody to please be safe. Be safe out there. We will see you guys next time. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, everybody from Creekside. Appreciate it.